You asked me the other day, you said, hey, do you think I'm like on the crazy side of this stuff? And how crazy are you? And I'm like, well, it depends who you ask,
Yeah.
If you were to ask my wife, for example, she thinks I might as well be Brian Johnson's, twin or something. If she tells people, he wakes up at crazy hours and he works out like a madman and he goes to jiu-jitsu and he fights all these people and he'll never eat anything bad and and all this stuff. And,
right.
And that's her take. And
Hello, welcome back. We are here, Thrive AF. This is episode 7. Last time we got it wrong. I said it was episode 5. It was episode 6. This is episode 7. I am one of the podcast hosts. My name is Keith Collegia, and I am one of the owners of CrossFit Terminus in Atlanta, Georgia. I am here with my good friend. You might know him as one of South Florida's most elite physical therapists, a longevity specialist, master of the ancient art of judo, and author and scholar, my friend Lou Fratto. Lou, say hello to the fans.
Hey guys, thanks for exaggerating all that stuff, Keith. I appreciate it. By the way, it's not judo; it's jiu-jitsu.
So, oh my goodness, I should go back. I should start over.
Technically, it's a big difference because if I went against a really good judo guy and we were standing up, I would probably end up flying through the air and landing on my back. So it is a big difference.
Sorry about that. No disrespect to either discipline. That is a rookie mistake on my part. I should know better.
None taken.
Jiu-jitsu. I would love to maybe, at some point get a deep dive on the difference between the two, because as a layperson, not in the martial arts, it's not 100% clear. But I know my kids took Aikido for a while when they were young. But anyway, that's a bit of a sidetrack. But it's been a while since we got together and did a podcast. So maybe we could just take a minute and catch up and say, how you doing, Lou? Like, how's the last couple of weeks been? Good?
Hey, I'm good. Yeah, went to Dallas to see my folks. I know you went to see your parents as well in Sarasota, right?
Yep.
So it's been good.
Yeah. Same here. It was nice to take some time off. We were celebrating belated birthday for my dad. So happy birthday, belated birthday, Dad. Got to play a little golf, fish a little bit. My brother and I went down. It was awesome. It was good times.
Does your dad fish too when you guys go? Or?
Yeah. I mean, he used to. He's owned 2 boats, and not anymore, but we used to do a lot of fishing out in the Gulf. And then we get out on the golf course now. We take his golf cart out and go to the golf course ponds and fish a little bit. So he was a big influence on me when I started getting back into fishing. So
that's cool.
Nice.
I can't wait to have my buddy Doug on here as a guest. You guys know him as the shark fighter. You guys will have great conversations because he's a big time fisherman. And he's tried hard to convert me, and it's a tough battle. I get seasick, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's the main thing that holds me back. I mean, if I go out, it's got to be flat and all this stuff because I don't want to ruin everybody's trip, And well, you remember when we went to the Bahamas and I was seasick the whole time on the way there?
I do remember. There was a lot of people seasick on that boat.
Oh, that was brutal. Oh, my God. I wish I would have kept in touch with the other guy that was our age, and he was from some other school.
I have a picture of that, of you two together.
Oh, if you can find that, you need to post that. Well, I don't know. We have to probably get his permission, and I have no idea
who knows
who he is. But anyway, he and I were the 2 guys in the bathroom the whole time just puking, and
great story.
We had instant camaraderie there, having the fight.
I will dig that picture up because you can tell y'all had a rough day.
Yeah, and I was like that age. I didn't know I had a propensity to seasickness, but that kind of cemented it. I was like, everybody else is like at least, you guys that I was with, you guys were all having fun, and I was just,
Yeah.
just
The worst thing about it is there's nothing you can do, really. I mean, I guess you can take Dramamine and stuff like that, but if you're feeling nauseous on a boat, I mean, there's nowhere to hide.
yeah, it's
And
the worst feeling.
yeah, I never used to get it, but then I did get a touch of it. We did a Boy Scout trip that was on a sailboat for about 6 days.
Oh, wow.
And the only time it hit me is when we were underway and I went down below for a couple of minutes and I lost sight of the horizon.
Yeah.
And I've never really been seasick before. And I was down there. I'm like, oh, this is not good. I had to run back up because it's different, man.
Yeah,
It hits
it's like
different.
your body like goes haywire, and the more you stress out about it, the worse it
Yeah.
gets. But he's tried really hard, and and the fish, any kind of picture that I have of me holding a nice, good-sized fish, he basically did all the work, and I, reeled it in, and then he grabbed it because I won't even touch the fish,
Oh, dude.
But I'm pretty
I
bad.
need to come down there. We need to do a fishing trip together because that would be good content for the YouTube channel.
Oh man, I mean, my favorite fishing is when I used to go with my dad and uncle and cousin, and we had guides, and they would do everything. They would, put the bait on there. They would say, "Cast it over there." You'd cast it if you're lucky enough to catch one. They would take the fish off the hook and throw it back. I didn't have to do
That's not
anything.
fishing.
No.
I was going to say I'm doing a trip next weekend if everything works out. A river float here in Georgia with
Nice.
my buddy Carl Kortemeyer, who is a podcast listener. So shout out to Carl.
Sweet.
He's like my fishing sensei. I mean, the guy he can catch anything, anytime, anywhere. And he set up this trip where we're going to float down. It's supposed to be like a 10-mile float down one of the rivers and camp out. So I'm excited about that.
That is a nice, nice way to do it.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, Doug had another death-defying adventure. I think it was last weekend. He called me in Dallas and he told me about it. So again, I'm just going to store all these up so that he can just release them all
Really
at once.
building Doug up here when he comes on. He's really going to have to perform.
He has 9 lives, and his kids too, because they've been through a lot of the adventures with him. So
Good deal. All right. Well, good catching up. Let's get caught up on where we are with these episodes and what the topic is going to be today. But real quick, before we get into it, wanted to do a couple quick plugs. So the first plug is for the podcast, Thrive AF. We are now on Instagram. So if y'all don't follow us closely on the Substack, you might have missed it. But we are on Instagram at Thrive AF Podcast. So if you're on Instagram and you want to follow us, we have been posting a little bit of content there, kind of feeling our way. So give us a follow, keep up with what's going on there. That's our first social media presence other than YouTube,
Awesome.
which I don't really count as social media.
And you know what? Good job on that, because people should know, and I think I've said it before, all of that stuff is because of you. And all of this stuff, I could never have done this. I barely even know how to get onto Instagram. And so it's all because of you. And we should mention that your company is Pescador Consulting, right? And
Yeah.
what do you do? What exactly do you do?
Okay, so this will be a personal plug then for me and for those of folks in the audience that don't know me personally, for the last 30 years or so, I've been in digital marketing, and for the last 11 years, I was with U.S. Bank. Shout out. But now I'm out on my own. I've run big digital marketing teams for big companies and digital agencies. So now with Pescador Consulting, essentially what I'm trying to do is take that experience and that knowledge and see how it can scale to smaller, medium-sized businesses. I'm also open to obviously working for any size company as a consultant.
Right.
But this has been a great example of taking some of the skills that I developed and applying them to a smaller scale, and hopefully maintaining a really high level of quality, but on a startup budget, essentially. Like Thrive AF was not like we have a big budget, right?
Do we have a
Actually,
budget?
well, confidential. We don't want to open the curtain that much. But yeah, I mean, I have a website, pescadorconsulting.com. Actually, I just finished the second part of a case study that I did about about
Nice.
Thrive AF and how we put it together. So yeah, if any listeners or viewers out there have need of a digital marketing strategist that with a lot of experience, and also now sort of turning my attention towards trying to help small and medium-sized businesses, you know, level up their digital game, give me a shout, either
Right.
on the website or just send me an email at Keith at thrive dash no thrive-af.com. So
Right.
yeah, wow, little brain fart there.
Well, thanks for the help with what you've done with this, man. And
Yeah, it's been fun.
yeah, it's been really a lot of fun. It's cool.
Still evolving. All right. One more thing before we get into the meat of the episode, which is going to be about technology. I have a correction from last episode. In the shout outs, I gave a shout out to a guy named Daniel, and who's a Terminus member, and I pronounced his name wrong. So I pronounced it Seath. It's actually Scythe.
Okay.
So I wanted to make that correction. So thanks for listening, Dan, and thanks for correcting me.
Hey, I got a correction I got to make too.
Okay.
Evelyn, who we showed a picture of her guns,
Yep.
said, actually, Lou, I didn't quite get to black belt. She said, and she said she was testing for it and she got hurt. And so she's a brown belt in her discipline, didn't quite get to. And this is how she got hurt. I think she said she was in her 40s. She had to run full speed and dive over 5 people and pull off the landing.
Like a
and
somersault landing?
Yeah. And she said as she was in the air, she realized she wasn't going to make it.
Oh, no.
And she was going to land on
Like
the
Evel
last...
Knievel.
Basically, she was going to land on the last few people. So she said she twisted in the air to avoid the people and landed off of the... I guess there was a mat at the end if you made it, landed off the mat and injured herself. And that was the end of,
poor thing.
that was the end of that. So, she
wow.
wanted to be honest and say, I didn't quite make it to black belt. So, but she's still an awesome person.
Yeah. We definitely cherish honesty and authenticity. So shout out, Evelyn. The fact that you were up for even trying it. Too bad you didn't have it on video, because that would have been
right?
social media gold.
Oh my God.
Very viral. All right, so we're going to talk about technology today, but first, you want to do the disclaimer? Because we're going to get into some detailed information.
Yeah. We're not software engineers. We're not doctors. This is not meant to take the place of what your physician is telling you or your healthcare provider. It's just for information and educational purposes. And of course, major entertainment.
Absolutely. I mean, that's number one.
Right?
I think the other thing is the other disclaimer today is we're going to talk about products. We're going to talk about, software, as you said, and other products. None of this is sponsored content. We don't currently have any sponsors. And if we ever do, we will let the audience know. But the stuff we're going to talk about today is stuff that we have personal experience with. It's not an endorsement. It's not a sponsorship. It's just what we use and what we know. So,
Yeah.
all right. With all that preamble out of the way, let's talk about it. So I have it down as technology, but in the book, I think it covers a little bit more than just strictly technology. So do you want to get into kind of what you covered in the chapter?
Well, I think it's best that we do just keep it to technology because it can get really deep, and probably the other sections deserve their own podcasts as well. So let's just stick to the technology part of it, and then we can kind of circle back around in the future with the other parts of it.
Okay, yeah, that works too. Do you want to start out with some of the main points, I guess, when you think about technology?
Yeah, I think the main, actually, if we were to summarize it into one point, it would be, the best I could state it is like empowering yourself with the technology available today to give you information to make educated decisions. Mm-hmm. And there's no better time for it than in today's day and age. It's just really, this is funny. This morning I got on to Chat GPT and I was going to ask it a question, and it prompted me. It said, "Hey, do you want to link Chat GPT to your health information on
I
your
got that
phone?"
same prompt this week, and I've seen other people commenting about it, like on LinkedIn, and writing about how they feel about it.
It's amazing because the timing couldn't have been better. Now, I have no problem with it. I've actually been uploading information to it myself for over a year, maybe 2 years. And I love it because it gives me very detailed information and answers based on me. And so, I linked it up and I said, I really have no problem with this. It's, they're going to do their best to keep it confidential, but
Yeah.
I had no problem with it. So I thought, wow, that's so ironic that it asked me this morning, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be an area where obviously will be some debate about what you do and
Yeah.
don't want to share, and what is the model using that data for? And there's probably tons of conversations happening, but I guess, personal feelings about your comfort level with
Yeah.
what you share with AI is gonna play into that. But I'm sure it'll be a developing space where there's a lot of discussion and a lot of research. So
Yeah, we're just on the cusp of it because if it's now starting to prompt people,
yeah,
it's going to blow up in that direction in a good way. Or like you said, it could be, there's also counterpoints to it,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
one of the things that you did mention in the book, and we're talking, I think in this case, what we were just talking about is sort of personal use of technology. But there was also some information that you shared in there about what you thought would be helpful on like an annual basis to do with your GP or the kind of healthcare, I guess, care team that you're involved with. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think we shouldn't lose that in this whole, there's all these great bells and whistles coming out and it's evolving faster than we can even keep up with. But let's not lose touch with the true and tried medical tests. Go to your doctor.
Right.
Let's not forget, go to your doctor every year or whenever they want you to go and get your tests. And we're talking about like your, if appropriate, your PSA and your bone density and a stress test and just a regular physical. Check your blood pressure, check your blood levels. What else? A colonoscopy, mammogram, stuff like that. Let's not forget about that because those are the reason they test for those regularly and they've been testing those for years is because they are valuable, and if you don't test them, you're missing, you could best miss something very big. And I want to do what I call a Cliffism. I've quoted him before, but my buddy Cliff, he's a really special guy. He's got a great attitude on life. And we were talking maybe a month ago, and he said, "Oh yeah, I went and got my blood levels." And I said, "Oh, what were the results?" And he goes, "Oh, I haven't gotten them back yet." And then the conversation kind of evolved into like he was saying, I'm okay with my mortality. When it's my time, I'm fine. And he goes, but I don't want to die of something ridiculous that I could have caught in a blood test. And that's kind of the whole point. And even if it's a chronic thing that's that maybe you can't get rid of and maybe isn't going to kill you right away, it's best to catch it early so you can manage it as best possible. And so.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I guess, maybe it's like we thinking about these personal technology things that we all have access to give us numbers on a daily basis if we want them is a complement to a more traditional plan on making sure that you round it out with regular visits and, it's not necessarily a replacement, but they're complementary in some ways. And I guess one thing now that you can do with a lot of the fitness trackers is download, a health report that you can actually share with, your health providers, which isn't something we talked about before, but I know that it's possible. So it should, like you said, continue to open up, hopefully, a better opportunities for people to understand their full picture when it comes to health and longevity and just fitness in general.
Yeah, it's just more information, and information is power if you use it correctly. The wearables are giving you kind of real time data, and like you said, filling in the gaps maybe between your standard tests. but giving you more information. And they can catch things maybe that could be a disaster. Like I've had several patients whose watch told them they were in AFib,
Mm-hmm.
and they had no idea. I mean, maybe they might have felt funny, but they didn't know what it was. And it said,
Yeah.
hey, you're in AFib, you better get this checked. So something as simple as that is super powerful now.
Yeah. So do you want to get into wearables, or is there anything that you want to talk about in more detail with that?
No, I think the first part of the topic, it's your standard test. I think the only thing I would add, and of course, again, I am biased, I'm a physical therapist, is I would say go to a PT once a year and get tested for your balance and how you move and your strength and that kind of thing. So I would add that too.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point, especially, I mean, we're old, but as you get older, those kinds of things like balance and, strength and a few other things become more important because I think you've mentioned before, and in the context of this episode as well, things like falls and, losing a little bit of that physical dexterity can be a real threat, or I guess a real danger, especially as you get older. So it's almost like going to a physical therapist to understand what your baseline is when you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s is probably a pretty important thing, because that's also something that you want to measure over time, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can use like data and technology to get a baseline or just the skills of the physical therapist. But
Right.
like balance is something, or lack of balance is something that sneaks up on you. It's like you lose a little bit if you're not working to keep it and to improve it. You lose a little bit every year, and then all of a sudden, just one day, you're like, well, you stumble or you fall, and you're like, wait, wow, where the heck did that come from? That never would have happened to me before, and so
Yeah.
it's better to take a proactive approach with it.
Yeah. I think that is
No.
really common. Well, you want to get into wearables and real-time monitoring and other stuff?
Yeah, yeah. I think that just my take on wearables is, they. You should basically look at the trends with those. So they're all based on algorithms, and each one of them has their own little sort of different twist on the algorithm.
Hey, real
And
quick,
so, yeah.
let's define what we mean when we talk about wearables, because not everybody might know.
Okay. So like, watches, the smart watches, the rings, the straps that you can wear. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I have two, which we need to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get into it.
Yeah. And I have one on my ankle, but I can't show that one. That's one that keeps me in the house.
All right. Yeah. That's a different kind of wearable.
But no, so where were we? So
Just kind of defining what we mean when we say wearables. Basically, any sort of device that you can wear on your body that helps you track biometric health data, right?
yeah.
Okay.
And that's going to be amazing, because I envision someday where they put something internal, if you allow it, and it really tests everything.
Okay.
You know?
Well, I mean, they've been doing it for a long time with things like pacemakers and,
Yeah.
some other devices now that are pretty invasive. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get there at some point. But right now
Yes.
it's on the outside of the body is what we're talking about.
Yes, and there is one thing that I thought of too. It's a blood glucose monitors that some people are wearing. It's like a continuous measurement of your
Right.
glucose. And just to expand upon that, it is pretty cool, because you can learn some insights that you might not have thought of otherwise. Like I have a friend, Jeremiah, who did it, and he was surprised that his blood sugar spiked after eating quinoa, but not after eating rice. So,
Okay.
he was like, wow, I never would have thought that, because
Yeah.
it's not supposed to do that. But that was just an insight that he gained. And that brings up another subject, is these things can be powerful with giving you insights that you might not have ever thought of or ever put two and two together. And I have my own kind of examples of that. And that's why I wanted you to, when you get a chance, to flash up the FedEx logo.
Do you want me to do it now?
If you can do it quickly.
I can. I
but
hope.
you're there. You go.
Look at that.
So, this is a great example of an insight because if you look at the orange letters, the E and the X, there is an arrow between them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yep.
so, until somebody points that out, or until you notice that yourself, you would look at this logo 1,000 times and never see that.
Yep.
But once you see it, you'll never look at the logo the same, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So,
It's funny when you asked me to include that in there, it jogged my memory about why I had last time I thought about the FedEx logo. And then as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, the arrow.
right, right.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's a great
funny.
example of an insight. So now he'll never look at quinoa the same again,
Yeah.
and it's one of the insights that I learned when I got the Apple Watch. So I've had it for like 4 or 5 years or so. Um, I got it for certain reasons of maybe connecting to the phone and stuff like that. And then I realized that it had a vibration alarm. So I
Mm-hmm.
started wearing it at night, because when I would wake up early, it wouldn't wake up the whole house with a regular, alarm that I'd have to, hit. It would just vibrate and I'd wake up and everybody else got to keep sleeping. So I thought that was fantastic. But then I started kind of paying attention to that it was tracking my sleep and everything. And I just realized there was how fragile a good night's sleep really is.
Mm.
So for instance, it made me realize that even one or two drinks fragments my sleep, I'm talking about with alcohol.
Yep.
And also a late night meal
Yep.
totally screws up my sleep. And even though kind of knew that, I just never put two and two together. And it made me realize,
Right.
okay, wow, that has a big effect on my sleep. It doesn't necessarily change my activity much, or it just, but it, because I'm still going to go out with friends and have dinner, and
Right. Still going to
maybe
live your
we don't.
life.
Yeah, but at least now I'm aware, and I'm
Yeah.
making a decision based on knowing all that. So
Yeah.
that was a
Well,
cool
and it could be
insight.
a small tweak. It could be, you know, I don't know, instead of having two or three drinks, you might cut it off at one and switch to water or something, knowing that if you have a drink after 9 o'clock, it kind of impacts you negatively. It might depend on what you have going on the next day. But I think you're
Yeah,
right. Like the ability to make connections between what your activity is and what the effect is and what that impact is may lead into the discussion about perspective, though, on how to kind of interpret the data and also maybe to keep it in perspective so that it doesn't become something that you obsess over. So
right.
before I interrupted you about wearables, you started to talk a little bit about the sort of algorithmic nature. So
Yeah.
maybe go back to that and finish the thought if you could on
Okay.
how to look at the data and what that means when you talk about like algorithmic and trend data versus
Yeah.
specific data points.
Yeah, so for me, where there are some specific data points that might catch a catastrophe or something that you really need to go check, I think they're more valuable with trends, so you look at the trends, and and we said this, I think, on another podcast, if you're trending in the right direction, hey, great. If you're trending in the wrong direction, maybe put some thought to it and try to fix it,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, though, without over obsessing about it. And that kind of brings up another point is sometimes these wearables are not right for people. Like if you have a certain type of personality, they may drive you crazy
Yeah.
or may, stress you out or whatever. And so there are certain people that just don't want to wear these things. And I, I get what they're saying.
Yeah, I agree. And I know some people personally who have given them up because, like you were talking about sleep, they felt like waking up every morning and getting a report about how poorly they slept was actually having a negative impact because they were stressing out about it. So they just ditched it. So, having that perspective and trying to figure out, well, how am I actually going to use this information? Is it going to be beneficial or is it going to be harmful? Is
Right.
probably a personal decision. But the idea of using them for trend analysis is one thing that, at least for me, has helped me keep it in perspective because I've had mine, which is a brand called Whoop, for about 2 years now. And I never really did a lot of deep thinking about the information that it was provided really until we started planning and talking about these things in the podcast. And the idea that it's measuring some things very precisely, but a lot of what it's presenting you with in terms of results is derived from an algorithm. It's not a direct measurement. And so when you kind of understand that, I think it also helps add perspective to, the best way to use the information that it's kind of spitting out, because it can't measure everything just by sitting on your wrist or by being on your finger, right? It has to take that data and make some inferences,
Right.
to give you something that's actually useful. I think the other thing that might help keep it in perspective for people is understanding that, at least with the one that I'm wearing, the Whoop, it's a subscription,
Mm.
just like a lot of other subscription products, right? And so it has a vested interest in keeping you engaged, just like any other app that you use or social media app. So mine is a wrist tracker that comes with an app on my phone. And I'm a pretty heavy user of the app. But I've also noticed that there's a business model behind it. And there's constant like upsell opportunities within the app, right? Oh, we can give you more data if you increase the tier that you're subscribing to, or you can get more features if you upgrade to a better version of the device. So like, I guess keep in mind that behind all of these things, whether it's an Apple Watch or a Whoop or anything that you wear, there's a business model there that has a goal of keeping you engaged with it, and that sometimes can affect the information that it's giving you. So another
Yeah.
piece of perspective that kind of might help.
Yeah. So speaking of insights, I had never considered that angle before you
Right.
told me that a couple days ago. And I went, oh, wow, that is interesting. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's an interesting thought. I was talking to a patient the other day, and he's in great shape, and he's a cyclist, among other things. And he's very into the tech, and so he's got, he's gone through everything. He's got the Apple Watch, the upgraded watch beyond this one. He's got the Whoop. He says, and then he's done cycling where he's worn a polar chest strap for his heart rate, and then the other two things, just to compare the accuracy, and I would say the chest straps are the most accurate, for heart rate. And so,
Yeah.
and he was just saying, okay, this one is more accurate than this one, and this one's way off, and this, that, and the other. But then he was talking about the Whoop, and he said he thinks the Whoop is trying to like egg him on a little bit, because it was saying, oh, hey, you're aging a little faster than normal, and
Yep.
it's so
Yeah. No,
it's
same
stroking
thing.
him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it has this age score within it, and the ideal is it's telling you, oh, you're like much younger than your actual age. And I've had the same experience where about every month it'll tell me I have a new Whoop age, and I'll look at it, and it will. I mean, it's good because it is a motivating factor for me. I mean, that's one of the reasons we're doing this podcast. We're both interested in like, trying to feel and be younger than we are. But it definitely is one of those things where there's a lot of marketing behind it, right?
Yeah.
Because once you get invested in it, like I'm pretty invested in this thing, it would be a challenge for me to switch to a new device or even to get rid of it. I could still do the exact same things that I do now. I didn't need it, but now that I have it, I'm kind of locked in. So we'll
Yeah.
see,
Yeah, so a couple things that came to mind as you were saying that. I think I fit in the middle. There's the people that look at this stuff all the time, and they use it, and they really harness it all the time.
Yeah.
And then there's the people that don't even want to see this stuff that we talked about because it stresses them out or whatever.
Sure.
Or they don't need it. I'll go through bouts where I'll use and I'll gather data for 3 or 4 months, and then I get tired of it or whatever, or I get the insights that I need, the knowledge that I need. It teaches me whatever I was looking at, and then I don't need it for a while. I'll go 6 months, 9 months
Yeah.
without even looking at it, and then maybe something else will come up that I want to look at. For instance, this strap is the Hume longevity strap, and I got to give them credit. They got me with the marketing. It was like, oh man, I just wrote a book on longevity, and this is a strap based on longevity. I got to get it. It's
Boom.
yeah. So and it was on sale, but one of the cool things about it was it has a pod that you stand on that you can get to, and I have both. So
Okay.
you stand on this thing, and it uses electrical impedance in your body and sophisticated technology and all this stuff. And they say it's 98% as accurate as the fancy test, like a DEXA scan that you'd pay,
Yeah.
a lot of money for. And it measures your body fat, it measures your muscle content, it measures your lean mass, your fat mass, it measures your bone density, just all kinds of cool things. And at the time, I had some patients who were coming to me and were concerned about losing muscle mass because they were on GLP-1s. And I had other patients who were coming to me and they were concerned about their bone density. So I said, okay, well, this will be cool. I'll get the pod and I'll test it on myself and just kind of see, what kind of feedback it gives me. And then I got some baseline numbers. I said, okay, let me change my workouts to try to improve these numbers. And so for about 3 months, I changed and I saw the numbers trending in the right directions. And it was just kind of like those things I already knew,
Yeah.
but it reaffirmed that. And now I'm kind of at the phase where I'm like, okay, I know enough information from this stuff. I'm kind of getting tired of looking at it, and I'll probably put it away for a while and
Yeah.
maybe get back to it in the future. I don't know.
No, that's a good use case. I mean, I've had similar experiences of going in and out of spending, how much time I spend with looking at my stuff as well. But maybe you talked about that being on kind of a spectrum. Do you kind of feel like you're in the middle? Do you want me to bring up that slide from an
Yeah.
extreme version? So here's,
Yeah.
why don't you talk about this slide that
Yeah,
you put
so-
together? I think you use it in some of your seminars too.
Yeah. This is a slide from one of my longevity seminars. And the whole point of this slide is you can optimize yourself right out of a fun life. And Brian Johnson, he is, from what I know about him, I watched his documentary, so I don't know him personally, but I don't mind the guy. I like him for he's honest. He's like, look, I am obsessive compulsive. I've battled depression. I've had, a lot of issues. I have all this money. He sold his company for close to $1 billion. He has all his time on his hands. And he says, look, I'm going to be the guinea pig. I'm going to do this treatment or this technology, and it's either going to kill me or it's going to help me live to 160 or whatever. And, so I like him for his honesty. But he's a great example, in my opinion, of overdoing it. And this is basically his schedule. So I think he wakes up at like 5:30 and he goes to bed at 8 or 8:30 because I can't see it closely here. But
You got it about right.
Yeah, he's essentially he's going from one optimization thing to another, and I just don't know where is he finding time to live in that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think he said as well, like he's pretty honest about it. Like, the fact that it may not be the most healthy approach. And I think again, represents the extreme end of what you can do if you had relatively unlimited money and time and focus. And on the other end of the spectrum is completely ignoring, your health data and information and doing nothing. But I think everybody needs to find maybe that middle ground. And, it's interesting. I'm writing a series of articles for the Substack about what I've been doing with the fitness tracker and some of the AI and writing it out. So in my mind, I feel like I also am kind of middle, of the road when it comes to how much time I spend thinking about this stuff. But as I sat down to write it out, I started to look at it and say,
holy cow.
Yeah, people are going to think I'm a crazy person because it's like 15 steps. But then I realized too, it took me about 4 times as long to write it out as it takes me to do what I'm doing. So
Funny.
I don't know where that puts me. But people can make their own judgment. But I mean, for me, What I've been doing, I'm going to talk about it maybe in a little, I'll talk about it a little bit here, but then go into more depth, like I said, in the Substack. And if y'all are not signed up for our Substack, please do that. But so I've been trying to take the information that I get from the fitness tracker and combine it with a standard AI chatbot and take some of the things that we've talked about in this podcast and create some goals around nutrition, sleep, and exercise, and make little changes, like is one of our other kind of core principles of what we're doing with Thrive AF, is that you have all these levers. You don't need to make huge changes to make impacts on your life. And so to put that into practice. And so what I've been doing is taking pictures of everything that I ate I started out with 10 days, but then just extended it. And I will put that into an ongoing chat in Gemini, which is what I'm using. And not to really get detailed necessarily like calorie counts and stuff like that. But what I've always understood about nutrition is that a good step towards cleaning up your diet is a food log. I've never been good at doing it because I get lazy. And, when I would try and keep a manual food log, I couldn't do it. But to me, it's a really good use of like an AI chatbot, is that you can now just take a picture of everything you eat and pop it in there and do it really quickly. And it gives you feedback along the way if you tell it a little bit about what you're trying to accomplish. And so for me, one of the things that I was able to do is start making small food substitutions, right? So I might have some things that I would eat as snacks or as lunch, and the AI started to give me potential options to swap things out, small changes, right? So moving from like a store-bought regular peanut butter to a natural peanut butter that doesn't have sugar in it, or seed oils was one small thing. Adding more protein to my diet based on what I was doing with exercise. So it's been an interesting kind of experiment. And then taking the data that I get from my wearable and taking a summary of that and putting it into the same like chat thread has added then a layer of exercise and nutrition together that you can take a look at and have an ongoing discussion about. If you have specific goals, like for me, I wanted to do more zone 1 and zone 2 running or cardio on top of the CrossFit stuff that I've been doing. Because that's one of the things that you talked about in our earlier episode about exercise and movement, was having a balance between high intensity and lower intensity stuff leads to better longevity. So when I took a look at what I was doing was very, very CrossFit focused. That piece of it was missing. So like intentionally adding more of that zone 1 and zone 2 training into my plan, I think has been a good thing. And now I've got 30 plus, probably more like 45 days of where I set a baseline based on what my Whoop was able to give me from a metric standpoint, and add these new things into what I'm doing with exercise. And now 30 or 45 days later, take a look at it and see how things have changed. And I've seen some positive results come out of that, which again, I will share in more detail in the Substack. But, and to me, it still feels like I'm not optimizing myself crazy.
Yeah.
But again, like I don't know. I don't know if everybody would look at it and feel that way. So
Right. And I'm glad you shed some light on that, because when you showed me the graphics that the AI put together, my first thought was, okay, what is he trying to accomplish here? So I could put it into context,
right.
And so I know you're going to elaborate on that with your articles forthcoming in the Substack. So that's going to be cool. I'll be able to actually put it into context. But the other thing that's funny is, and you asked me the other day, you said, hey, do you think I'm like on the crazy side of this stuff? And how crazy are you? And I'm like, well, it depends who you ask,
Yeah.
If you were to ask my wife, for example, she thinks I might as well be Brian Johnson's, twin or something. If she tells people he wakes up at crazy hours and he works out like a madman and he goes to jujitsu and he fights all these people and he'll never eat anything bad and and all this stuff. And,
Right.
and that's her take. And I don't know, and actually a lot of my friends think I'm definitely on the side of probably overdoing it too, because, it's not their thing. So
Right.
I
Well,
don't know. It's,
yeah, it's hard to tell. I
yeah,
guess like when I approach this, I guess a couple things that try to make it accessible. So the technology part of it, like I don't think it's that I don't think it's that odd now to have some sort of a device, whether it's a dedicated fitness tracker or an Apple Watch, that has the ability to track your
yeah,
fitness. And that's pretty accessible to most people. So it's not like we're doing something that's way out of the norm. And then I also think if you were to layer on some of the things that I'm doing with an AI chatbot, it's also pretty accessible. It's just to the degree in which you might be willing to invest and how much time you have to invest in doing it. And like, when I first started trying to put together this plan of what to do, it felt like a lot, but now it's just part of my morning routine.
yeah,
And, it doesn't take me that long and it doesn't feel that weird. I'm not sure I'll do it forever, but I mean, like having a food log and to be able to look at it and say over a certain amount of time, here's everything that I ate is beneficial. And if have any sort of goals around whether it's weight loss or whatever fitness goals, it's there and it's accessible for most people. And you don't have to be an obsessive compulsive to actually get some benefit out of
yeah.
it, I hope. And maybe that's something that'll come through in what we're talking about here. And also the stuff that we're writing on the Substack and sharing. So,
Yeah, it's definitely gotten easier to keep track of a lot of stuff.
yeah, it really
You know,
has. Yeah.
that's what AI makes it great. And then it can assimilate it and it can give you recommendations in like 2 seconds, which is unbelievable. But
Yeah.
and one other point is that I think that's why I love having friends around, and of course my wife too, who are very, they
They help
love,
ground you.
yeah, they love life and they love having fun and they don't
Yeah.
obsess about the future too much and about health and everything, and so they ground me and they keep me having fun, and so I love them for that, and they put up with my insanity at times. And but then again, I think some, maybe a little bit of my health consciousness rubs off on other people at times. I don't know, My
Yeah.
daughter too, she just rolls her eyes.
Yeah, well, they've got time. Like our children have time to figure all this stuff out. And it'll
Right.
probably be different by the time they're ready to invest in it. But I mean, hopefully it's good. I mean, it's good information for people that are listening to this and sort of consuming it to think about, and I really enjoy having conversations about this with other people at the gym because everybody has their own little approach and a lot of them have the same kind of devices and things. And again, that's a small subset of people that are obviously very invested in their health and fitness. But there's so many ways I think that you can use this stuff to help support whatever your goal is. And I'm
Yeah.
really be interested to have more conversations about it with folks in the real world, but also potentially like when we start in season 2 and having people on the show. I think it'd be a really fun thing to talk about. What people are doing in their daily lives around this stuff because it's changing pretty
Yeah.
rapidly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing it's been good for me is it's helped me change my point of view on some things about nutrition. Like when I would take a recovery day or a rest day and I wasn't working out, I would think, well, I need to not eat as much because I'm not exercising to kind of balance that. And I think that's opposite of what conventional wisdom is and maybe was doing the wrong thing because the recovery day is supposed to be where you're building back up your energy stores and you're repairing, whatever damage you've done. So you need to feed your body the right stuff, even on a recovery day, even though it feels like you're eating a lot. So that was like a mind shift to me that I hadn't really thought about before, that maybe you or is just more conventional wisdom for people that study this more. But to me, it was kind of like, oh, I didn't really think about that. And it was counterintuitive to me, but I've changed my whole point of view on it. So
Yeah, and let's give credit to the companies and the guys who were the first ones talking about recovery and monitoring your recovery. We talked about that in a previous podcast, like your heart rate variability, and
yep.
I did my best to define that. And that's just made a lot of people aware of how hard they're working themselves and how much they need to recover, and it's helped to emphasize the importance of recovery. And I wanted to give a shout out to the guy who first told me about heart rate variability. This was about 15 years ago, maybe.
Wow.
And his name is TJ Kanoki. And he is one of my jujitsu teachers. And he's also a really great personal trainer and athletic trainer. And he's in the Boca Raton area. You can look him up if you want to. But he told me about it, and he said, "Hey, have you heard about this thing? It's called heart rate variability, and they're looking at how hard you've been training and how much recovery you need, and if your recovery is really good, then they work the people out really hard, and if you've been working out too hard, then they'll take an easy day." I said, "No, wow, I'll go home and look that up." So I looked it up, and then I've been toying around with it ever since. But he was the one that turned me on to that, so I wanted to give him credit.
So if it was that long ago, how were they measuring it? Were the wearables and stuff actually that good back then? I can't
No,
remember.
no, it was like the way that I did. I searched for an app, and I found an app on my phone, and you had to hold your finger against the camera lens, and it would measure it that way. So definitely not as accurate as it is
Okay.
now.
That sounds like a gimmick to me, but
Yeah, well, it did its best to measure it, and it would tell you, okay, do it the same time every day, and
yeah,
I think it was like right when you wake up was a good time to do it.
I
It
got
just
it.
didn't give you continuous measurement like it does now, but
Right, right.
you know,
So because it was you were kind of doing some of the work manually that now is probably being done by the device algorithmically or whatever today. So
yeah, I know this is going to be like a probably way too long of a podcast, but can we talk about the definition of resting heart rate? Do you think that would
yes,
be valuable?
yeah. I had a discussion with my wife about it last night based on what you and I talked about in the pre-call. So go for
Yeah.
it.
Well, so like I somehow I got the idea to research this because I was getting with these two things, I was getting conflicting results on my resting heart rate, and I was just like, well, how can they be so far off? And what I found out is that the different bands and the different technologies have a different definition of resting heart rate. And so, for instance, Whoop and Aura tend to calculate your resting heart rate when you're in your deepest levels of sleep. So
Hmm.
you might get a really low number as a result. Like if you're in good shape, you might be in the 40s. And then the Apple Watch tends to average it out during the day when you are not active. So it might even be considering right now, you and I talking, as it might be calculating that in as my resting heart rate. So you're sitting there and you're awake and you're doing something, but not super active. And that's how it calculates resting heart rate. And then the Hume tends to average it out throughout the day, no matter what you're doing. So if you have a job like mine where you're super, you're active the whole day, pushing, pulling, manipulating, walking and doing all this stuff, it's going to give you your resting heart rate based on that. So, because it's an average throughout the day. So I might get in the 40s with the watch, when it measures it, because I have an app that'll measure it at my deepest sleep.
Hmm.
And so it might say 40 something, which would be akin to, say, what the Whoop would say. And then the regular Apple Health algorithm might tell me my resting heart rate is more like in the 50s, and then maybe even low 60s. And then this thing is telling me 70s, high 70s. And so, depending on which one you look at, you get a totally different picture of my cardiovascular conditioning
Right.
unless you know that it's, different in the context.
Yeah. So how do you kind of rationalize all that? I mean, like, I
I
mean, if you
don't.
didn't know, if you only had one,
Yeah.
like you might think, why is this thing, telling me that I'm super out of shape? But luckily, I guess you have multiple measurements that you can then figure out like which one to actually listen to. But
Right.
I guess the point there is, well, one of the points might be depending on, as you said, which device you have, and if you only have one or if you have multiple, it's you need to really understand what some of those measurements are based
Hmm.
on to give you
Yeah.
the right context and figure out what to do with it. Because you could have a very skewed vision of some very baseline things if you don't understand the way that the device is calculating it and measuring it, right?
Yeah, so you could be, let's say you had the Hume band and it was telling you your resting heart rate is 79, and then you talk to your friend who's got the Whoop, and he's like, yeah, mine's 46. You're like,
Yeah.
what's going on, man? I am like out
Yeah.
of shape or something, whatever.
Yeah, I think I
It's,
had a thing similar to that when I was running with a couple of friends a few weeks ago. And I don't know what kind of trackers they had, but we stopped. We were doing like 4 minutes on, 1 minute off. These are my friends, Danny and Jason. Shout out podcast listeners. And they were looking at their heart rate and they said their numbers. And I looked at mine and it was much lower. And we're not that much different in terms of fitness level. And I was like, that's weird. Like, and I wonder now if it was due to the fact that maybe we had different devices and they were
yeah.
measuring things. Because at the time, I thought it was very odd that there was such a difference. But
Yeah, and
good to know.
also, yeah, what should be noted is that the wrist bands, the watches, and whatever, I think are miserable. They do a terrible job at measuring your heart rate when you're super active. Like if you're doing like a
Mm,
CrossFit workout, or you're doing a really hard weight workout, or even if you're sweating and you're doing like a really hard run or something, to me the accuracy gets worse and worse and worse, and so that's
mm.
why I actually had invested in a polar heart rate strap that goes around your chest, and
And
those are
that's
under
much better.
$100. Yeah, and
Yeah.
those are more accurate. But so the harder you work out, to me, the less the accuracy is for the wrist device. So let's say you're on the Schwinn Airdyne, and you're
Oof.
just going crazy, and
Yeah.
well, you're engaging these
Accelerometers
tendons,
or whatever they're called.
yeah, and these
Oh, yeah. I thought,
tendons here, and so
mhm.
it's the accuracy goes out the window. So that should be taken into account.
Yeah. And maybe that supports another point, though, where even though you might, let's say you have a device or multiple devices and they're measuring things, it goes back at measuring things differently. I think it also points back to the idea of using it as a trend analysis, because I guess from what I understand, even if this device measures differently than one that you're wearing, if I have 2 years of trend data, that trend
Right.
data should be correct because it's me, right? And it's using the same measurement on me over time. Therefore, I may not I may get a different resting heart rate than if I was wearing another device, but the trend for that resting heart rate should be accurate, at least, where one was 70 and one was 40, if I was doing the right things and that was improving, I should see that regardless of the specific measurement, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So
Yeah.
as long as you stick with the same device,
Right, right.
it's
But realize that if
valuable.
you switch or if you add another
Yeah.
one, you're going to have to rationalize the data that you're getting at some point. But the
Yeah.
trend line is still valid.
Yeah, and I saw this story, I think, online, so I don't know if it's actually accurate, but I think Whoop really made their name and they really shot through the stratosphere in their sales because a professional golfer was wearing a Whoop and during COVID times, and it alerted him. I think something about his body temperature had ticked up a little bit, and it said, "Hey, this is a sign of something or whatever." So I think he went to the doctor, and they discovered that he had COVID really early on, as a
Interesting.
result of what the Whoop told him. And I think that made Whoop just blow up with popularity back in that time frame of COVID. But that's kind of cool,
Yeah.
he had a certain baseline, and then it ticked up. He went
Yeah.
to the doctor, and they found out he had COVID back in the early days of COVID.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I just started noticing them at the gym. Everybody started wearing them. And then another thing goes back to marketing. Like part of I don't know if the other ones do this, but Whoop will give you like a free 30 days if you give your code to another person, so
Oh,
somebody, at the gym was like, hey, I asked them about it and they said, you want to try it? Here, use my code. They got a free 30 days on their subscription because I signed up. And then
nice.
when I got a new device, because I was eligible for an upgrade, I passed mine on to Dana. And so there's an incentive to do that because then I got a free 30 days just by passing my old device to my wife who signed up for it. So
Nice.
it's a
Smart.
pyramid scheme. Yeah.
Yeah. Smart.
Kind of like us trying to get people into subscribe to our Substack.
Exactly.
Uh, um, all right. Well, we have gone on quite a while, but this is a really good topic. So
Yeah.
I don't mind. We can split it up if we have to. But yeah, I mean, I guess there's a lot going on in this space with technology. There's a lot of helpful things. You got to keep it in perspective, figure out what works for you. And maybe what you and I talk about here people might think that we're crazy people, but to us it feels normal.
Yeah. Look, we're doing it for research for the podcast.
That's
Okay.
right. That's right. We're serious researchers. I would really love to, I can't. I would really love to hear from other people and have these discussions about what people are doing because I just think it's a really interesting thing to talk about. So I guess that's a plug for anybody that's listening or watching. Would love to get your comments on the episode, on the Substack articles. Let us know what you're doing and look forward to having guests on in season 2 so we can talk about this and other stuff. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to give a thank you to Cece, who wrote the article, the Substack article, "Every Day is Leg Day."
that was
I
really
thought,
good.
yeah, I know her, and she is a unbelievable person. And it doesn't, all of that she wrote in there is true, and it doesn't
Yep.
surprise me if you know her. Doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me.
Really great article, really good inspiration, good story. Hopefully, we'll have more guest contributors. I know that we've got a couple that we're working on for the Substack stories as well. So I think that's going to be great. So, looking ahead, we have 2 more episodes that are going to be based on the chapters of your book before we get into season 2. And next episode, we're going to talk about social connections.
Ah,
I
okay.
think that's the next chapter.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
finer chapter is going to be habits.
Mm.
So and that'll be wrapping up. Then we move into big season 2
And
where
guess.
things get really, really exciting. We can keep it going.
I think it
You
will
want
be. It'll be fun to have people on,
Yeah.
different than us.
just
Shark fighters.
blathering on for an hour and a half. Do you want to do quick shout outs? I've got a couple.
I did my CC for sure.
Okay.
And then I did my correction with Evelyn. And let's see. Doug for continuing to live a adventurous life so we can have a packed podcast with him someday.
Absolutely. Shout out, Doug. I already gave one out to Carl, my fishing sensei. So thanks for listening, Carl. And he gives me good feedback in person and also comments on the stuff. So thanks for doing that. Another couple listeners from CrossFit Terminus Morning Crew. Greg Giuffrida. He's a Paisan. Very, very consistent. Has told me a few times that he listens to the podcast and he's enjoying it. It's a little
Nice.
confusing because I have another friend named Greg Gianfrido, who's also a Paisan. Do
Oh
you
my
remember
God.
Greg Gianfrido from?
Yeah, I saw him in your picture that you sent me when you were down in, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, very close name, but spelled differently.
Oh
So
my gosh.
shout out to both the Gregs.
Wow.
Another listener who's in the early morning crew at Terminus, Alex Sales. He is a really nice young buck, really good athlete, and has mentioned that he's listened to all the episodes. So thanks, Alex, for tuning in. A couple birthday shout outs. My friend Andy Rosebrock had a birthday. You might know him as Axe.
That says it all right there.
Yeah, that says it all. He was, saw him when we were down in Sarasota. So happy birthday, Axe.
He has
And-
had an adventurous life, I am sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I told him he needs to come on the podcast.
Oh, definitely. I remember him, Bill, but he was fun.
Another birthday. One of our coaches at Terminus is a little bit belated, but Coach Chase had a birthday a couple weeks ago. And funny story about Coach Chase is, you did an article about grip strength
Mm.
early on in the Substack. And I don't know if you know this, but in CrossFit, a lot of people will wear gymnastic grips for doing pull-ups so that your hands don't rip. And Chase actually shamed me into getting rid of my gymnastic pull-up grips, and because it was not supporting grip strength, and so I did. I had to take on the challenge. I couldn't let the young wolf come at the alpha without responding. So I have ditched the grips, and I'm a better man for it.
That's
So
great that you still refer to yourself as the alpha. It's like, perspective is
yeah,
reality. Keep thinking that.
yeah, I'm the alpha. Give me a break.
That's great.
Um,
That's what's fun about this stuff is not taking it too seriously, but making small little changes here and there that, that
yeah,
hopefully keep us enjoying life. Right.
yeah, indeed, for sure. Well, happy birthday, Chase. Appreciate you. All right, I'm also going to bring up here. We had a nice comment from a friend of mine, Neron Hinton, about nutrition. The funny thing about this comment is he's referencing some quotes that came probably 15 plus years ago from my business partner, Ben, who
Ah,
is one of the owners of CrossFit Terminus. And these are actual quotes that he gave us about bacon and how pig grease is better than grains. There's a million ways to die and how you have control over the ways that result from what you put in your body. Anyway, as Neron said, he first heard this advice 16 years ago, and he's beginning to understand that he can no longer out exercise a bad diet. So thanks for
yeah.
listening, Neron. He's
Nice.
another person we should have on the podcast because he's probably outside of my gym buddy, Anita, who I started going to CrossFit with. He's one of my oldest companions from the early days, from like day one. So he and his family moved a little bit further out, so we haven't got to work out together in a long time, but we keep in touch. And he's a really
Cool.
great guy. And
That's cool.
he is a still kicking it. He's a little bit older than us, but he's still going to the gym and doing the right thing. So
Nice.
it's a good deal. All right, I think that's all I got.
I got one more.
All right, hit me.
I just thought of it.
All
A
right.
buddy of ours from a long time ago, Chris DeGance.
Yes.
He has a new product. I think it's new. I mean, I just heard about it called Dr. C's Party Patch. I think it's what it's called to be specific. Sorry, Chris, if I
Is
uh,
he
mis
is he
misnamed
the
it.
Dr. C in this?
I'm
As in
not
Dr.
sure. I don't know.
Who is this
I,
mysterious Dr. C?
I have to ask him.
All right.
Yeah, that we'll have to have him on the podcast to ask about it. But he sent me and just me a sample of these patches, and what they, again, this is not medical advice, but what they're supposed to do is if you
Not a paid
go
endorsement. Not a paid
right,
endorsement.
not yet, Chris, not yet.
Okay.
Nike could be calling too. We never know. But anyway, so if the patches are supposed to, if you put them on before you go out, and have maybe a later night than usual with your friends, and maybe you have a few drinks, and you leave the patch on, throughout the night, and then as you're asleep, it's supposed to, help you feel better in the morning. So
Okay.
I tried it. I put the patch on. I only had, I think, 2 drinks, but usually when at my lofty age that I'm at now, when even 2 drinks, when I wake up in the morning, the next morning, I wouldn't call it hungover, but I just drag and I
Yeah.
have brain fog,
Yep.
and I don't think I had it with the patch. I felt better, and that's an
Okay.
honest opinion. Maybe it helped me sleep a little better. We already talked about how I get this fragmented sleep,
Yeah.
and I don't remember waking up like every hour like I usually do, and
Hmm.
I think I felt better. So
Okay.
kudos to Chris, and I hope the patches take off, and I could say it helped me.
All right. Well, I'm going to need some of these patches, and we're going to have to test. We're definitely going to need some when we go back to the football game in October.
Right,
That'll be the big test.
for sure.
We might have to
So
wear
stay
like
tuned.
4 or 5 of them.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, indeed. All right, cool. Well, I guess we should do our favorite part of the podcast.
Let's get
Sign
it right
off.
this time.
Yes. All right, we're on it. All right. You want me to start?
Yes.
All right. Until next time,
Keep challenging yourself.
keep growing. And
keep
thriving. Yeah.
Yeah. Screwed it up again.
People are going to think we're doing it on purpose, but we're not.
We're just amateurs. What can I say?
We're just bad. All right, buddy. Good chat with you. And long episode, good show, long show, as they say. I may have to chop it up, but we'll figure it out.
It was fun, though. Take care, man.
Thanks,
All right,
Luke.
later.
Bye.
Bye.